Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here today, and hope you had a great weekend. And glad you decided to join me today as we continue to walk through the book of James. We'll be in the third chapter today, starting in verse 7. James chapter 3 and verse 7. James is going to continue to speak about the tongue and the danger that it presents. Beginning in verse 7, he says, "Every kind of beast and of birds and of serpents and of things in the sea is tamed and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith we curse men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceeding blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. Doth a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh." I think the words that James shares with us here this morning are pretty straightforward. But let's just walk through them for a minute. James says man has been able to tame every kind of animal. If you go to the circus, we've tamed, for the most part, lions and tigers and bears. You go to SeaWorld, we've got dolphins and whales. We have watched as seals spin balls on their nose and clap their hands. Dogs trained to do all kinds of tricks. He says we've trained about everything that we've come into contact with, except ourselves, except our own tongues. He says we can't do it. God is the only one that can control and tame our tongue. And again, if we're not, it's a very dangerous weapon, and that's why we need to put our confidence, our hope in God. Allow the Holy Spirit to work in us, to continually be filled by the Spirit or controlled by the Spirit, because we can't control it, and we all know it. Every person watching this morning, listening this morning, has had that experience where something came flying out of your mouth, and you're like, "Wow, did I say that out loud?" And there it was, but it was too late. We don't have control of our own tongue. And here's we continue in verse 9. He says what really makes this powerful is who he's writing to. James is speaking to Christians. He says, brothers and sisters. He's writing to believers and saying, you're the one that needs to really control your tongue. He says, blessings and cursing shouldn't come out of the same mouth. When you go up to a water fountain, you're not rolling the dice. You don't, if you don't expect to push the button and get good water the first drink and bad water the second and good water the next and a mixture the next. It's not the way it works. So we shouldn't come into church and stand up in the choir or stand in a congregation and sing, "I'm so glad to be a part of the family of God," and then go to the restaurant after church and just chew them up. You shouldn't stand up and say, "Oh, how I love Jesus," and then go home and just crucify his people. He says it just shouldn't be that way. He says it shouldn't. He says, a fig tree doesn't produce olives, and a grapevine doesn't produce figs. He says it just shouldn't be that way. And if it is, he says, if criticism, gossip, slander, swearing, cursing, filth comes out of your mouth, then the issue is bigger than your tongue. The issue is your heart. because what's in here will eventually come out. And so that's the warning for us today, that let's look and listen to our own words and see, what do our words say, not just about the control we have over our tongue, but who is controlling our heart. Think about that today. Have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.